Hello and welcome, friends. This is part 3 of 3, so I'll be wrapping up this set of Kendra's card challenge number 21. This set, I'm using the Stamps of Life January 2026 card kit, and this is previous footage from before I actually started assembling the 15 cards. Just wanted to recap where we're at. I have already chosen my papers, cut them according to the cutting guide that is part of the free printable that you can get. So that was part 1. I showed how I actually cut each and every 6x6 sheet of pattern paper. Off camera, I did assemble additional mats and layers and made some design choices, whether it was to bring in additional pattern papers from the paper pad or some solid color cardstocks, which do come in the card making kit. And I have these little sleeves numbered 1 through 15, and it includes all of the pieces that were cut from the initial 6x6 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern paper, as well as those additional mats and layers. Now with those additional mats and layers, I actually cut them according to the card sketch. That's one of the nice things about Kendra's card challenge. You have all of the dimensions right in the card sketches. I do also have one of the sheets from, I think 2 of the sheets actually, from the paper pad are cut apart. So I used my brother's scan cut to cut those out. There's also a sentiment die set, as well as a large penguin die in this card making kit, which that larger die I don't actually use in this set of cards because it's an A1 size die. It's rather large. You get plenty of solid color cardstock, including white, so I used some of those for card bases and did have to bring in some more from my stash, but I love that the colors match perfectly with the pattern paper, so it's really lovely. This card kit is so perfect for crafting KCC cards because you just about have everything that you need, including there are even some additional things in the card kit like stickers, which have nice sentiments and as well focal images, and also there's even a spool of ribbon and some gems that you can use to kind of bling up your card. So I did miss a little bit of footage. I'm just now wrapping up card number 8. So in part 2 of this 3-part series, I put together card sketches 1 through 7, and I actually will do the same thing in this video where I'll record a voiceover so that for any of these sketches that might have some nuances, I like to kind of give my tips and tricks. Thankfully, sketch number 8, even though I did forget to turn the camera on, it's a rather straightforward sketch, and the only thing I did that is a little bit different from the sketch as shown is I added an extra layer behind each of those pattern papers. I feel like whenever I'm putting multiple pattern papers right on top of one another, it's really nice to have a little bit of a border to frame it. So that's what I did. And also on that green piece from sketch number 8, I did not cut the fishtail banner ends. Just personal preference. Okay, so now we're on to sketch number 9. This is such a fun sketch, and I wasn't too sure when I started how the geometrics would work out, because this diamond pattern, if it's off at all, I think it would look very off, but everything lined up really nicely, so I rather like how it turned out. I did clip the edges of my inner square a little bit because I think I miscut that, so it doesn't come quite to a neat point there. But I pulled out some Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers. I love using these, especially in cases like this where after the fact, I felt like this whole piece here could use a little bit of a border. And since it's already glued down, it's a little bit too late to add a matte layer behind it. And I kind of, because I used pattern paper behind this whole layout, I didn't want to add more paper to create a border outside of this panel. So that's why the pinstripe stickers are the perfect solution, because I'm just laying those pinstripe stickers right on top of the panel, and that way I can still see plenty of that beautiful lavender pattern paper, but I still have a really nice solid border all the way around. And since I did that with the top portion, I decided I would continue that and do it for the bottom section as well. So the bottom section I'm going to keep really simple also. It happens to be kind of the perfect size for one of my ultimate sentiments, so I added that. And because my ultimate sentiment banners are a little bit on the small side, especially for this particular box here, I did cut a matte layer in a coordinating cardstock. And that's from my universal sentiments, or the universal coordinating die of the ultimate sentiments. I really love that die set. I'm partial to it because I did design it, but I love the fact that you can either stamp or print, because now I have printables, 10 sentiments, and then using a single die, cut them all out at the same time. That we've seen loads of, but I really love having the extra matte layers, and I like that I was able to include so many different types of borders. So there's a scallop border, a postage edge border, a wavy border, and the one I'm using on this card is just a plain straight border. They all have stitch border detailing, which is really nice, but it just helps to kind of beef up these little sentiments a little bit, which sometimes I feel like they need on a card. And as well, it does help to frame those sentiments so that they're a little bit easier to read off of, especially a busy pattern paper. And my scan and cut, I gotta say, props to Stacy Valentine, because while I was cutting these penguins, I realized that it's still like a little bit off, like the white surround of each of those penguins. Actually, you could see it pretty clearly on that one that's to the far right. It is kind of shifted, where there's more white showing on to one edge than the other. And Stacy Valentine is like a brother scan and cut pro. She knows her stuff, and she's kind of the resident expert among my crafty friends. So. And I think one time I was complaining about my scan and cut doing this, and somebody mentioned calibrating, needing to recalibrate your machine. And so I Googled what that meant. I tried it. It didn't work. And then, because I like to try to figure these things out before I bug other people, but I asked Stacy, and sure enough, she knew exactly what I was doing wrong, was able to point me in the right direction, and subsequent little penguins from this cut apart page have been cut just fine. So I just want to give a big thank you to Stacy Valentine. She's amazing. With this particular sketch, what I'm gonna do is I just need to start on one edge, and this one's a really easy one to assemble. I don't feel like I need to put any washi behind these to actually attach them, essentially, because these 4 pieces of pattern paper are basically going to create a frame. And it leaves you, if you follow the measurements from the sketch, which you don't necessarily have to if you don't want to, but it'll leave you about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So I had mentioned in, I think part 2, that typically the way that I like to create my cards is I build everything up, layer by layer from the card base. And that way, each layer that I glue down, I can actually burnish really well. I know that's a little bit different to how other people might like to assemble their cards. Some people like to just create the whole layout as a panel, and then when they need it, glue it onto a folded card base, which I think is brilliant. But especially since you can just have a lot of these panels ready to go, and you don't even need to put it on a folded card just yet, until you actually need it. And you pull it out and complete the card. I find that sometimes that does add extra bulk to your card, especially when for this card, for example, I just used a colored card base. So that right away gets me that lovely border all the way around. And depending on how dark or light your colored card base is, it can be helpful sometimes to put like a white panel on the inside so that you have a place to sign. But otherwise, it helps you to kind of save a layer of cardstock and might keep your card a little bit lighter at the end of the day. So some of the solid color cardstock that came in the kit, I'm actually just cutting them in half and using them as card bases. I think there were 4 sheets of white, so that got me 8 card bases. And then besides that, there was like another handful of colored cardstock. Probably would have been enough to make card bases out of all 15 or for all 15 cards in KCC 21, but I wanted to save some of those cardstocks for mats and layers. Because they are such a perfect match to the pattern papers. Okay, so now with this one, this is sketch number 10, I believe, or 11, and it's really this one I think can be a little bit tricky. So what I like to do is I do like to adhere these panels, these small little strips, to each other as I go. Now, when I come to this section at the bottom here, it's a little bit longer than what you need. So what I like to do is I just line up where it overlaps with the final piece, and then I trim it off to fit. And I'm just using double-sided adhesive to glue these sections together on the back. And that way, when I peel it up, then I can just stick it down. And there's still some sections where there's no adhesive, so I just put a nice little squiggle of liquid adhesive. So with this one, you will need to trim. For me, I'm actually turning this sketch so that it's, instead of being landscape, this is actually going to be portrait. And that's because my pattern papers happen to, or at least that big piece with the penguins happens to be oriented this way. And rather than flip to the back, because I think the penguins are really cute, I want to feature them. I just went ahead and turned the sketch, which you can always feel free to do. Now, these little penguins that I'm about to use here, they are actually part of the stickers. There's actually 2 sheets of stickers. One has these adorable little penguins, and the other sticker sheet has sentiments. And I just thought they would be really cute, just kind of standing on top of one another. And to finish the card, I'm just going to add a little sentiment strip. In my printables for the ultimate sentiments, I release these every once in a while. On a monthly basis, they're going to be part of the easy card making kits, but standalone, every once in a while I'll release some themed sentiments. So if there are any that you are interested in, just let me know. But what I like to do whenever I release one, whether it's standalone or as part of the easy card making kit, I like to give you the sentiments in both formats, the white on top of black as well as black text on top of white. And the format that I generally use for the ultimate sentiments is I like to have one set of 10 be kind of your more traditional sentimental sentiments, and then the other set are a little bit more humorous, a little bit snarky, just something a little bit more fun. So I'll leave links to all of that and what I'm crafting with in the description box below if you want to check anything out. Now with sketch number 12, this is another really fun but very simple layout. I'm going to use a little bit of the ribbon, and with this panel, thankfully I haven't glued it down. So I have the opportunity to actually wrap the ribbon starting from the back. Then I can wrap it around to the front, and I'm trying to get it really straight. So I'm even pulling out my T-square ruler here to get it straight, but certainly you can eyeball it. And then I wrapped it right around to the back where I'd already put a little bit of double-sided adhesive tape just to tack it down. This looks so much neater and tidier than gluing it to the front and maybe snipping it off at the edge. It really does look nice when you're able to wrap your ribbon around to the back. On an earlier card, I did use some of the same ribbon. And by the way, I didn't know that ribbon came this thin. It's about 1/8 of an inch, which I really like. But I tried my best to tie a little bit of a bow here. I'm not the best bow tier, and especially with such a thin ribbon like this, it was a little bit tough. But I think I did okay, and I'm gonna pull in one of the penguins that's part of the cut apart. You do get 2 sheets or 2 designs. And since the each sheet of pattern paper does actually have multiples, you did get a fair amount of penguins to use as focal images. So I kind of like sometimes using the white text on black, but sometimes it's a little bit too bold, especially when I feel like this card, there's not a lot of really dark colors, and having a sentiment that's white on black felt like it would just stick out way too much. So I'm going with the reverse, and in my digitals and in the stamp set, unfortunately with the stamp set, I don't have the flexibility of giving you the inverted version. So if you were lucky enough to get the birthday sentiment stamp, you can stamp it in whatever color you like, but you won't have the inverted version. And so now that stamp has sold out, I will release the birthday sentiments as a digital, and that way you can print it in both versions, the standard black text on white as well as the inverted version. Now with banner flags, I don't stress too much about getting it perfect. I just cut from one corner until I reach about the middle. And then from the opposite corner, I will cut and try to meet it up where I ended my cut. And I know sometimes people will cut up from the bottom a little slit right in like kind of the middle of the banner. I just find that that's just an extra cut. So I like to make things really simple and easy and fast for myself if I can, because I'm already a slow crafter, so I don't really need to be adding extra things to slow myself down. So since I don't really mind if it's a little bit wonky or a little bit imperfect, I just make those cuts directly from the corner and I just eyeball the center. With sketch number 13, I'm gonna do the same thing where I rotate this, because when I cut down this sheet of pattern paper, that's just the orientation that happened to land, and there's always a couple of different ways you can account for a particular pattern paper, especially if you're going to use something that is directional, if it's not facing the right direction, you can always flip to the opposite side of your pattern paper. A lot of times that will solve it for you. But I really like these penguins, and I feel like they should be, featured on every card. And so I didn't want to just flip to the backside, because the Stamps of Life paper pad is so well designed. When you flip to the back, it is a really nice, easy to use pattern that is not themed. And so that would have solved this pretty easily, but you can just as easily rotate the sketch, and that way something that might not have been oriented the right way, you can now use. And so that's what I decided to do. And the other option, it's, by the way, always an option. If you really don't like that particular pattern, you don't necessarily have to use it. You could always just follow the sketch, but maybe cut a new piece of pattern paper. And for that matter, you don't necessarily have to play along with the challenge the way that I'm showing. You can always just use your scraps instead of starting from 6 whole sheets of 6x6 pattern paper, and then just go from sketch to sketch, cutting the pieces that you need, because all of the dimensions are given to you in the sketch. You can just approach the challenge by using this as a little bit of a scrap buster, and use whatever you have on hand and whatever pattern papers that you like. They don't have to necessarily come from the same paper pad. I just find it really useful to use a paper pad, and in particular use a card making kit like the Stamps of Life, because it does come with everything that you need. It's been so well curated. Even having the same colored cardstock that perfectly matches, and as well having some coordinating things like the ribbon. And on this card, I'll be using some of the little, I don't know that they're enamel dots, but they're like little gems. And it's just, it just works out really nicely when you already have a lot of supplies that coordinate, and you don't really have to work too hard to find all the things. And especially since this kit even includes, stickers that have sentiments and stickers that have focal images, not to mention the dies. So there was a sentiment die from all of us, and as well a really large A1 size folded die of a penguin, which is super, super adorable. I just knew that penguin would be larger than I would need for probably most of the 15 card sketches, so that's why I didn't craft with it with this set of cards, but it's super, super darling. And one of the things I really love using in my craft room in general, but especially on card sketch cards, is low profile foam. Because there's already so many different layers of cardstock in a lot of ways, because I do like to add like mats and layers just to give things, really nice borders. Low profile foam, which is about 1 millimeter thick, it's really nice because you can even stack multiple on top of each other, and it's not going to exceed that 1/4 inch limit that we have here in the United States. So you can still ship these cards for a single forever stamp, for example. And you still have the ability to add, just that little bit of extra dimension to lift things up a little bit, and make things a little bit more unique. Certainly, a handmade card is, especially if you sell at a craft fair, you want to make it different and more special to what somebody can just go and maybe at a grocery store buy, or right off the shelf. So I really love low profile foam for that, because then you can add multiple layers and it's still relatively flat and not so heavy either. So, because we have to stick to 1 ounce or less and 1/4 inch or thinner. So with sketch number 14, this one's really fun. There's lots of different options and opportunity here. So from the pattern papers, there's really just that one large panel from paper F. But as you can see, there are some stripes behind the oval. And I decided I just want to do a different shape. So I just pulled out another nested shape die set that I have, and it happens to be a rectangle. So I'm going to use that. And I had a little rifle through my scraps because I like keeping whatever little scraps in a tray while I'm still in the process of making a set of cards. That way, if I can use these scraps, especially, I don't do it on camera, but after I was done assembling all 15 cards, I actually went back and with the scraps that I had, I just added a little extra something to the inside of the cards. I'll share a reel or a short featuring. It's just like a quick flip through of all 15 cards, and I'll open them all up just so that you can see. On the inside, I kept it like super duper simple, but it's kind of nice to have a little something on the inside, and plus it's just scraps. I would likely, I think with scraps as small as what I had left, probably toss them. Larger scraps I'll leave in the sleeve. Oh, that's the other thing that's really cool about the Stamps of Life card kit is you actually get this really nice plastic sleeve or folder that you can put everything in, including those sheets of 8.5 by 11 solid color cardstock. So really, really fabulous. Okay, so I'm not really following those stripes exactly as shown. So what I did was I just eyeballed some stripes, and I just added 3 of them. And I went on a diagonal instead of going horizontal. And then I realized you can't really see them like at all because I cut my stripes so thin and the background is so busy. So and the cardstock that I chose, it's just really, it's a solid color cardstock and it coordinates really nicely, but it's just really light. So in terms of the tone of the color purple there, it's a little bit, it blends with the background a little bit too well. And in fact, I don't even think it's solid color cardstock. I think it's actually one of the pattern papers. It's solid, but it's actually the backside of one of the pattern papers. So what I did was I just pulled in some Love from Lizzie's pinstripe stickers. I tried to find a color that matches, and what I'm gonna do is just add a little stripe to the top and bottom of these strips. And you might notice that I'm actually, for that first line, I actually went all the way from left edge to right edge, but that was wasteful. I don't really need for this to go clear across the card because I'm gonna put that big rectangle right over this, so totally can save a lot of my peel offs by just doing these short little inch or so segments, and then not have to worry about what's going to get covered by this large rectangle. So that's a little bit of a tip for stretching your supplies a little bit, whatever you have. Maybe instead of, especially if I hadn't just used like a bit of scrap paper, if I used maybe some specialty cardstock as my strips, you don't really have to have a strip going clear across the page when over half of it's going to get covered anyhow, and no one will be the wiser if you're just cutting these short little 1-inch segments. So you can always fake it. Now, if you did that though, I would definitely do my best to really line them up from so that you get that really nice straight diagonal line. Or if you went horizontal, you definitely want to maybe pull out a T-square and make sure that your horizontal lines really match up. But it definitely helps a lot to have those pinstripe stickers bordering my pattern paper stripes, because they weren't standing out at all. And again, I'm going to use multiple layers of my low profile foam. So the rectangles, I adhered with some low profile foam, and I popped up my little penguin as well. This is the last sketch. This is number 15, and I'm starting with a colored card base, which I feel like I should really do more of. I think with this set of cards, it's probably been the most times in a sort of card making session that I have used solid color cardstock as a card base. Normally, in the past, I haven't really done that because I have a lot of the Michael Recollections. I think it's either 60 or 65 pound cover weight cardstock. I find that that's a little too lightweight for card bases. But the solid color cardstock that comes in the Stamps of Life January card kit, it's actually pretty thick stuff. It's really nice. And a lot of the cardstock that I have is from Spellbinders, which is a 100-pound cover. So those make for nice card bases as well. And I have a lot of cut cardstock as well. And the lightest I have there is 60 pound or 65 pound, the pop tones, but the discount cardstock I think is 80 pound, which might be the lowest paper weight I would go for card bases. But it really just depends, because on layered cards like these, you don't really need something super heavyweight, because there isn't like an interactive mechanism or a pop-up mechanism. So, having something a little bit slightly lighter weight, like 80 pound, would work just fine. The other thing is, if you don't have low profile foam, you can do what I'm doing here, where I just cut down scrap cardstock. And I layer a couple of layers of scrap cardstock. And with this sentiment, what I did was I only put a little bit of that cardstock on the left and the right, because in the middle, it's going over these little circles. And so that helps to just bring everything level, so that I don't have some areas that are kind of sagging a little bit and some areas that feel lifted when it's the same piece. I like for, if it's the same sentiment banner or focal image, but it just happens to be crossing over areas of the card where there's like different number of layers underneath it. A lot of times I'll either use my 3D glue gel, but I know that can be hard to find here in the United States, or I'll do something like what I did here, just add a little bit of scrap cardstock behind. All right, so that is my completed set of 15 cards featuring the Stamps of Life January 2026 card kit. I hope you'll play along with Kendra's card challenge. If you want to, you can expand the description box below to find the link where you can download the free printable, which shows you how to cut 6 sheets of 6x6 pattern papers, and then it shows you 15 card sketches that you can follow along with and use up all of that pattern paper that you initially chose. This is a great way to bust your paper pads up, and instead of hoarding them, actually turning them into beautiful sets of cards. Not to mention the fact that you can enter once per month between now and March 31st, and each month you'll have a chance to win some amazing prizes donated to us by these awesome generous sponsors. Big thank you to the Stamps of Life for sending me this kit to craft with, and a huge thank you to all of our prize sponsors and super sponsors. Thank you again, and until next time, happy crafting and have a fabulous day. Bye.